Alright, hey guys, welcome back. Another day for great barbecue here in Florida. This time we're in St. Johns County again, out at St. Augustine, one of the oldest cities in Florida, founded in 1565 by Pedro Menendez. Down here at a place called Smokin' D's Barbecue. We were just at the Celtic Fair and had to try out some barbecue in town. Heard a lot of great things about it. Great brisket, great pulled pork. Look forward to trying it out, sharing our review with you guys. This will be our last stop for this trip, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. But right now, let's get down to some Smokin' D's Barbecue and we'll be right back with the review. Thanks, guys. All right, Kyle, what do we got here?
Well, here we got some barbecue from Smokin' D's. We got some pulled pork, some brisket, some side of baked beans, and some coleslaw. We also got some toast we haven't slid out here.
There you go, some Texas toast. This looks like some good barbecue. Presentation-wise, already I can say it's probably a little bit like the old woodpeckers we went to earlier.
A little more to-go style barbecue.
Definitely, definitely. But we got all the sauces, so we're gonna try them out right now. Give us a chance to get down on this, and we'll be back with the review. Thanks, guys. All right, let's get some barbecue going here. All right. So what we looked at, kind of when we're talking about barbecue, and what we were able to show you in the first videos was when you look at brisket, you kind of want some give when you hold that piece of meat up. This one's a little stiff, but it's still got a little bit of give. I know you can't see it get real close here, but there's a lot of marbling in the meat here. It's a leaner cut, not too much fat on the outside. Got a nice bark with that smoke ring. I don't know if you can see that, but it's that pink area around the edge there. So that's kind of what we're looking for in the brisket. Now the pulled pork here, you got a little of the burn ends. When we're talking burn ends now, it's this stuff right here. So you're getting that nice area of just that crispiness with the pulled pork. When it's here, this pulled pork's a little more chunky.
It's more sliced and chunked than pulled. The pulled pork that we had in our other reviews was shredded. It just kind of fell apart. So I'm gonna try out and see what's going on here with this pork.
It's got great flavor already, I can tell you that much. Just kind of wanted to give you an idea of kind of what we're grading it on when we look at it. Obviously, you got to see the presentation a little bit when we pulled it out. A lot like woodpeckers, with this kind of wax paper that kind of seals in that moisture, and kind of keeps it nice and tight. So it's not getting dried out, but at the same time, you're kind of getting a wetter piece of meat when you eat it. So gonna get down to food right now, and then we'll get back to you with the review after this. All right, guys, we're back with the review. Had a little camera issue. Had to bring the camera home and charge it up. We had it die out there in St. Augustine. But we're back now for the review, and we're excited to finish this up. You know, 3 great barbecue places. Not everybody can be first, you know, so we'll do this review real fast and get down to which one we thought was the best and kind of what we thought, you know, wasn't as good. Okay, starting out with the brisket out there at Smokin' D's in St. Augustine. Kyle, what can you tell us about the brisket?
Well, the first thing I noticed about the brisket is the cuts we got were part of the flat, which is a little bit leaner meat. And so right off the bat, that kind of tells me that there's going to be less marbling, maybe a possibility it might be a little more dry. I also noticed first off that there wasn't much bark to it, like that good charred layer that we like on the outside of the meat. What would you say?
I agree on both those, and you know, part of being that lean meat, it was a little less fat, so you're getting a little less flavor. And kind of what I showed you in the video when I held that piece of meat up, there wasn't much give. It didn't just fall kind of down. It was a little bit stiff, so right there, it's kind of an undercooked brisket in my book. I like to, when my brisket's cooked, it to fall right over, and then if you pull on it, tug on it, it should pull apart pretty easily. With that, I was pulling on it, it kind of stayed, you know, together, and you know, I think that affected, you know, the texture and the flavor of the meat. So for me, I would say that Smokin' D's was, you know, my least favorite of the briskets. Not saying it was bad by any means, better than, you know, your average chain restaurant, but when you're comparing 3 great restaurants, I would say that Smokin' D's is probably, you know, my least favorite brisket.
I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, out of the 3, it wouldn't rank very high, but compared to your average chain restaurant.
You're putting it 3 too?
I'm putting it 3.
Okay, what was number 1 for you, Kyle?
That's tough. Number 1, the bearded pig.
Bearded pig. That's my number 1 too. And you know, I loved everything about the Woodpeckers barbecue out there, but I think that it was just a little too moist, a little too wet for me, and not enough bark, and that's what I kind of like.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you
Well,
thought?
we got a little more of the fattier cut there, which was trimmed the least out of all the ones we tried. So yeah, I expected it to be a little more fatty, a little more juicy, but still could have had a little more of a char on it.
Definitely.
But we won't talk too many points for that.
So moving on to the pulled pork, definitely one of the most different pulled porks I've ever had. I wouldn't say it was bad, but at the same time it was a little bit different. Kyle, get us started here on the pulled pork. What do you think?
The pulled pork. Well, it wasn't so much pulled. It was more of like a cut and chunked kind of pork, and it didn't have that. It was almost like undercooked. Yeah. But it was in chunks, kind of like you had to chew it up. It wasn't really stringy. It was kind of dry. It had like a flavor that was more like a roasted pork, like an oven baked pork roast. So for me, it was kind of a disappointment compared to the others, but still, I mean, it was pretty good pork.
Yeah, I mean, the initial flavor was good. You know, you unwrap that thing. There's those burnt ends that are in there. But the thing with the wrapper though is it kind of locks in that moisture, and what it does to that bark is kind of loosen it up, so it's not as crispy as it would be coming right off the grill. It's sitting in its juices, kind of getting a little, losing that texture of the bark. But a thing about when you cook pork, or pulled pork at least, you got to get to the right temperature. And when you get to a certain temperature, you're getting to that consistency where it pulls apart. And that's where I think it was a shorter cook because it kind of chunked up versus pulling. I could be wrong, could be just a different method, but in my experience, it pulls a little differently when you cook it to a higher temperature. But grading it against the other 3, I would say that it was probably my least favorite, both in the texture, the chunk style, and the flavor. Number 1, I'd probably say would be for me Woodpeckers. I think Woodpeckers had a pretty good pulled pork.
I think I enjoyed Woodpecker's pulled pork the most out of the 3, simply because it was just a little bit juicier for me, and it had good flavor, good burn ends. That was the stuff.
So finishing up with the sauces and kind of the sides and sauces, put those 2 together and grade all 3 on that. We had a whole range of different things: collard greens, mac and cheese, daddle peppercorn, and I would say that the sauces and sides. So the smoking D's was okay. I thought their toast was pretty good. The sauces, they had the Alabama white, they had the X, they had the sweet, and they had, what was the last one, Kyle?
They had kind of a Carolina style, like a mustardy barbecue sauce.
What do you remember about that one and the Alabama white?
I remember the mustardy sauce was pretty it was sweet and had like a hint of vinegar flavor. It was a little more kind of liquidy saucy for my liking. I mean, good for dipping, but not really like a smothering kind of sauce. And then the Alabama white was that was kind of new to me, kind of a creamy vinaigrette sauce that could be supplemented as a dipping sauce for other sides, as well as your meat. But not bad, just new and different for me.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 sauces I would agree on. And as far as the X and the sweet, your typical fare when it comes to a spicy and a sweet. Nothing stood out to me, and it was not as memorable as the other places where you have your daddle pepper mixed in there with that hot sauce at Woodpeckers, and your kind of that spicy vinaigrette kind of deal they had over there at the Bearded Pig. So those 2 really stood out, doing something different. The Alabama white was obviously really different, but as far as the sweet and the smoky, or the sweet and the spicy, wasn't really anything to write home about. They were good, but I wouldn't say they were better than the others.
Just kind of a mediocre traditional sauces in my book. Yeah, nothing to top the charts by any means.
So finishing up, I would say that overall score goes to the Bearded Pig at number 1. Then we would put Woodpeckers at number 2.
Absolutely.
And then finish up with the Smokin' D's out at St. Augustine at number 3
on our list.
I mean, there's still more to try. Still, they're all great. I mean, And that's, you know, when you're talking about those 3 restaurants, it's hard to compare those to a lot of places. They're really good barbecue, and we were, you know, excited to try them out. But we're looking forward to our next, you know, set of reviews. I think we're going to look for the best burger in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I think we'll be on that next. This was a fun trip, and look forward to seeing you guys next time out there on the road. All right, guys, take it easy.